Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We are the embattled broadcast from the great state of New York, where we contemplate the past to stay within our present, to dictate the terms of our future. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you see on the screen, we've got Joan of Angels, Oracle of Ancient Wisdom, somebody who puts a smile on my face every time we interact. I've got goosebumps, and we just sat here for about 2 seconds talking to each other. So, Joan is about to travel the world. Joan is a bevel of information. She is a healer. She is in touch with the angelic realm. I could go on and on and on. Joan of Angels, how are you?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. Rob, it has been a lifetime since I've seen you. So much has happened. And I just love how the show has really kind of grown, your show, and into really like dictating our future, making our own choices about our future. So I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. We create those terms. And you know, it has been a while. We always
Oh dear. So I can't hear Rob right now. I can answer his questions that he hasn't answered yet, but this is going to be crazy because I'm not sure who you guys are going to be hearing. Huh. Rob. Let's see what's going on. Rob, hello. Have you come back?
I'm back now. Sorry about that. It only happens when I think it's your energy, but it happens whenever we have energetic people coming into the, onto the show. But it really is dictating our own future. And one of the things that's so great about that is you are giving people pathways to essentially align themselves with their higher selves, their higher essence, the higher frequencies. My frequency is raised just being on the screen with you. And that's something that not many people have that ability to do that. And you understand the inner workings of healing through the angelic realm. And what you have coming up is going to be so much fun for you. I'm so excited for you. And it has been so long. If you guys don't know, we did a show called Tartarian Mysteries Revealed, where we jumped into a lot of things like giants and, the world fairs and things like that. It's in the playlists on probably both the channels, mine and Dr. Jones. Well, I call her Dr. Joan, Joan of Angels. We're going to be putting her YouTube channel in the chat as well, so you guys can go follow, subscribe, stay in touch with her. And trust me, this woman brings a smile to my face. She's a beautiful soul inside and out. And I can't say enough great things about Joan. And I love you, Dr. Joan.
So my happiness factor is being back on your show, Rob. Okay. And I love that we took some really deep dives. I've continued to explore, you and I on the show last year started triggering for me what in the world has been going on the planet century after century after century, not year after year anymore, but century after century. What in the world is really going on here? What year are we even in? And how do we as humans handle the uncertainty that we have? Because, we come down here excited to live our life, and the rules change the second we get here. So you triggered that with me for this really deep dive exploration of, is it just my imagination, or we live on a planet where maybe they're trying to extinguish humanity over and over again? Are we in a simulation? It's quite disturbing when you sit back and you look at over time, So I'm sitting here thinking of our shows and looking over time.
And it's incredible. We've progressed so much since then too, in the sense that, oh, thank you, Susan. You're doing all the work that you're doing, and you're actually like on boots on the ground now, which is really incredible. You've always been boots on the ground, but you're chasing this dream of touching souls physically, which is, to me, I can't stress enough how incredible that is. I try and do work like that day to day, right? You see somebody, conversations, old friends, things like that, but you are really the front line of alignment, of finding that inner standing and bringing that essence of who we truly are and our truest potentials out of people. So one of the questions I wanted to start with was, tell us what's been going on for you since the last time we've had you on the show. Give us a little rundown of what's been happening for you and how things have either stayed the same or changed for you, but what's on Joan's mind right now?
Oh my God, I have so much on my mind, but I came in, Rob, this life to heal and inspire and wake up people. That's my whole soul mission. I've seen millions of people in my visions being healed and lifted. And I've been told that I'm here to raise the vibratory frequency of humanity. And I understand that now. I've spent the last few years diving into it, but the last year I've been on a transformational journey to really know who I am. And part of that began when I left my home in the desert. And I laugh. I say, Jesus did 7 weeks. I did 7 years to wake up. But it's true, to come to terms with who and what Joan of Angels is. And last summer, I left my home. No point paying rent when you're going to be traveling. And I have been traveling and doing a lot of meditating, Akashic record readings, different channelings to really anchor in what I'm doing. And I began to remember that I had been the high priestess in Atlantis. And Neil at that time from Portal to Ascension had been the high priest. And when and then I started to have visions of watching Atlantis drown. And I remembered that Neil and I, when we were in that life, had sent people out, had sent all the priests out all across the world with their scrolls and the ancient mystery teachings. And what Neil and I are doing now is really waking up and reactivating in a big way these mystery schools that were sent out around the world since the fall of Atlantis 10 or 12,000 years ago. So that happened, I think, on day 2 after I left my house.
Wow. That's incredible.
Up. Yeah. I looked at Neil, we're having lunch or something. I said, oh my God, Neil, I have to tell you what I think we're doing. And so that set the tone of what I am doing. I even recognized Alan Steinfeld, who has been on part of this journey with us. I saw that we had given him the scrolls, and he took them to the Dead Sea, he took them to Egypt, and he took them around the world also. I literally saw it. And then I saw the people that had been part of my tribe and we had tried to fight this darkness and couldn't. We tried to fight the evil and stop it. And in those days we couldn't, and we drowned. But what happened is that for thousands of years after, those people who had been the priests and the priestesses and these high energy beings and the healers were tortured for centuries, Rob, for thousands of years, in huge ways, to be punished for daring to think you're so bold.
So do you think that had an incarnational effect as different lifetimes went on for you to sort of be punished in that way via these dark entities that kind of had their hand in the mix all the way up to probably now even?
Something happened to me the other day. I almost died. So
oh my God.
I'll tell you that story because I didn't realize it was connected to anything you were saying until that second. But in fact, I don't even know what your question was, but I've woken up into who I am and what I came here to do, which is to help people remember who they are and why they're here and step up. And it's a really powerful thing when millions and millions and millions of us come together and we remember. But coming back life after life after life, and many of your audience and my audience are healers. They're, angelic beings, they're star seeds, they channel. But what happened is that all of those lifetimes where people were punished for that who they are, people came in this life. Who wants to stand up and be Joan of Arc this life and be burned at the stake? Or be a witch and burned at the stake? So there's a lot of cell memories that people have to heal to have the courage once again to stand up. But I've come to realize that this is really important, that this need to stand up now is more important than ever, and to really fight for our own lives and to fight for humanity. When you step back and you see that there's been repetitive cycles to take people out. I mean, why would you take out healers? Why would you go after women who are able to heal and help people, especially if you got benefit from it? Why would you do that?
Capitulation and power, really. I mean, they want to be the ones who are controlling that healing or creating avenues of power for themselves for that healing. And it's wild you say that because now that you've said that this is happening to you, I look back at some of the past life regressions that I've had, and I did remember of an Atlantean life I had as a somewhat of like an engineer type person, or like almost like a mechanic, so much, not so much an engineer, but like a mechanic, whatever it was, the cars, the machines, that was what I did. And I was more of like not so much the technical, like the technology kind of guy. I was the gears kind of guy. Like, let me fix the gears on this thing, you know? And
That's funny.
I also remember a life of being in World War II and dying in a foxhole and being bombarded in the woods during a snowstorm by mortar fire. And maybe this is something that is a reoccurring theme for me as well if I really sit back and look at it. Now, maybe one or two of those lives it didn't happen like that, but now that you say that, that has a profound effect, and that's why I love these conversations, because some of the instances that are so similar between ourselves kind of bounce off of each other, and the other person reflects on it, and we say to ourselves, wow, maybe that is a possibility or a consequence. Therefore, what you're doing is you're healing without even really engaging, just kind of speaking. So, kudos to you. But now I'm sitting here like, holy crap, like that's wild. That's wild. But so,
It is wild.
I love that all of you, and I feel that all of you have been connected for a very long time. You, Alan, Neil, and even myself and Omar. We're sort of like a an outer circle now a little bit. We have to get back in contact with Neil a little bit more because I want to bring Neil back. I love Neil to death, and I know he was busy doing his thing, and things were changing in lives, and but we have to keep these connections together. And I think that this is another one of those bridges too. Is a great step because our show for me was something that was just such a deep dive into something at first that I was very like suspect about, so to say, about certain aspects of it, not the fact that it took place, but certain things I wasn't on board with. And we spoke about that with me and you, and I was like, well, and you're like, just look at it, and I looked at it, and this kind of gave me a position of kind of a different style of research, because now I'm not just looking for what I believe to be true. I'm trying to take a more analytical approach to my research and really give it some, perspective, I guess is to say. So, I credit you for that as well. And you've been a mentor to me, and it's been amazing in that aspect. So thank you for that.
You're just so nice to me. You inspire me, Rob. I don't know if you like this to all your other guests, but the Tartarian stuff. So let's define it for everyone. You and I went into a deep dive with Tartaria. Do you know that recently? And so we both kind of came to the conclusion that there had been resets, and that there was such a phenomenon as the mud floods that could actually take out and destroy a whole area. And I put on my Telegram channel the other day a video of a mud flood that was happening some part of the world now. And it was this video, and they had said, well, most people don't understand what mud floods really could do. And they're showing this video, and you see a river of mud that's huge, just wiping out all of that land. And this just happened recently with some of these floods that are happening now. And it made me realize that, that's even happening now and today. But I also did, so I've done a lot of research into that, but also I've been really looking at the giants. I came across an article that talked about the giants helping humanity in the 1500s. It's an alternate timeline, and how tall they really were. And I started to look at many of the mountains and take pictures of all of these mountains that look like a face in that mountain. And so many of them, those mountains you look at and go, God, that looks like a face. Or, well, it could have been a face. It could have been an actual giant that either there was something that happened that they became fossilized overnight, just like that. And in their huge body. And that's why we see, like, even on Easter Island, we see those giant faces, those heads that were just frozen in time and turned to stone. In fact, just like all those childhood fairy tales.
Yes.
With rich
yes.
people would turn to stone. What if some of that was true? And then you go, well, she's saying the fairy tales may have been true, but they may have been true. There's a lot of evidence that we did have giants on the planet and that they're being covered up. And there's a lot of evidence to the little people and other energies that, in fact, I even started researching some of the ancient trees, and it saw videos of a certain kind of tree that can walk and move a few hundred feet. Even though
Wow.
old ancient tales talk about trees walking, there's the War of the Celts. The trees came between the Celts and the Druids in this ancient story in the 400 AD. But I thought, well, this is a story. Could trees move? And I looked it up, and sure enough, I saw videos that actually in a forest, you could see this tree moving. Now, I'm not here to say all these weird things are true or not. I'm saying that I think there's phenomenon that's beyond what we know and what we're told doesn't exist. We're told that it doesn't exist.
Just to piggyback off that too, when these depictions of these trees in a lot of these stories, first off, there's the tree of life, which is the sacred tree amongst the ancient cultures, right? We all know that even in the ancient Native Americans, there was a specific tree that they uprooted and moved to create the hole that created the earth and mankind once they came down through that hole, which, kind of sounds like a hatch bay door, but at the same time, we see stories where these trees have faces, and the trees, when they
Yes.
have faces, they wail when the wind blows or whatever, like, things like that. But also, and my wife saw this. I can go outside and ask the tree to touch my shoulder, and by God, it will touch my shoulder every time. It may take a moment for it to kind of, find the energy to let the branch come down, but it slowly but surely makes its way to me. And I don't know if it's a reflection of my energy sort of calling it in, or it's actually doing, because I say, Mr. Tree, please touch my shoulder. And I'm polite with it and I talk to it, and it ends up touching my shoulder. It's absolutely incredible. But this is the consciousness aspect of trees. And we know that they're conscious beings, just like the plants and the animals. Much of what we're told is not conscious or more primal density has a consciousness aspect to it, whether it's fully conscious or half conscious. It's there, and this makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And trees are very, very conscious. Trees have a network that their roots connect into a huge network where they're always communicating. If one tree doesn't have water, they might send water down to the others. In a forest, the trees move a little bit so a baby tree can come up and get the sun. Like, they work very, very collectively. And if you really notice, you can see families of trees. You'll see a big tree, a smaller one, and little baby ones. And trees love it when you acknowledge them. And, this whole point, and I love what you said. I want to show you this. The other day, I took a spoon bending class. Why? I took a spoon bending class because the day I left my home, Neil and I stopped at Calistoga for lunch on the way up to Shasta, and we were covered with flies. The flies, and I got annoyed. And I went, I should be able to create a force field so they don't attack me. And I did. I created this force field, and Neil was watching this. One fly comes in like this and bounces off. And so I know that we can use our mind to do that. So I took a spoon bending class. And this is what I discovered. The spoon bent, and this wasn't my mind. I can't tell you it was my mind. I actually squeezed it. But what happened was that I started to imagine the molecules. And this is what I think happens when people can pass through walls or extraterrestrials. They change somehow our molecular structure to be more in alignment with the universe, so you can slip through the door. So I started, and I was having a lot of trouble moving it. Okay, it wasn't that I thought I would get it right away, and I didn't. My ego went out. But started to visualize now these cells, molecules expanding, and then expanding some more. And then I said, well, I just might as well fall in love with the spoon. And I had a moment of falling in love with the spoon. And so, it was a regular spoon. And the moment I fell in love with it, I went, okay, squeeze it now. And that's what happened. The next day, and so I was very excited, just so you know. I did it twice. I did not do it with my mind, and I still have a long way to go. But the next day I went to a new client's office. It's a real estate office, just so you know. And I'm carrying the spoons. The husband was a little shocked. I'm carrying these spoons, and I walk in their office, and the first I hear the spoons, literally. I walk in the office, and they had a gorgeous table, but it was in the cafeteria. It was like an elegant wooden table, and the table spoke to me, literally said, "Can you tell them I don't belong in this room? They need to move me." Okay, so I'm walking in the office with these alive, because these are alive. They're still sentient, even though I don't know what they're into. I haven't had a heart-to-heart conversation on philosophy with them, but they have this kind of energy, and they kind of are bubbling over. So I sat in the room, and I'm holding them in each hand. And the next thing that happened is I'm talking to the Galactic Alliance and the Galactic Council. And I said to the husband, I said, "You need to be quiet. They have the information for you. I'm your conduit from the Galactic Council. Any question?" And I proceeded to channel the Galactic, which I've never done. And
Wow.
I said, "Feel free to ask anything. They'll tell you anything you need to know." And we gave him a rundown on what he'd been doing and his success and what he needs to do now.
That's
And
wild.
and that was the other day.
What if, and this is just a what if, just kind of contemplating what you're saying. What if you're using those spoons as sort of like an antenna, and they've become an extension of you because you've given them that love? Now they're part of your essence, or some of the things inside of your brain that were holding you up from centering yourself are now transferred to the spoon, which in turn is making them alive. And now, once you're able to direct your energy into that spoon, it becomes the filter, which in turn brings you to that frequency that connects you to that galactic council.
I knew you'd find a way to explain this. I had another explanation too. So we're kind of feeling into it. But years ago, when I went to Damanhur, they talk a lot at Damanhur about this substance called Selfika. Selfika is the energy between dimensions, and it's the energy that we can't see right here. What they used to call ether, but it's a living energy that's within all this that we cannot see. And so in Damanhur, they learned a way to actually activate and attract this Selfika, and they put it into art. They put it into healing devices and healing machines, so that it will younger you and bring you back to life. I sent someone one year I sent a friend who could only walk like a few hundred feet because of his lungs. And after he stayed in Damanhur for 3 weeks, he was walking several miles a day by this activation from the Selfika energy. So I was thinking that there's also the possibility that it's connecting with the ether energy also.
Very
I
much
mean,
so.
there's several different things, but I did realize I could use it as a wand and healing, but it is connecting to something really strong and really good to remember that the universe is alive. Like the trees are alive, everything is alive. And my goal with the spoon bending, is to get to the next level. Why can't I teleport? Why can't I do telekinesis? Why can't I walk through that door? Heck, why can't I be in your studio tonight doing the interview and meet your lovely
Right.
wife? Hi, honey, Joan just dropped in for the day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I felt it when you pulled them up and I saw them. I was like, there's something, they feel like they're a part of you. And I could tell because, our energy right now is essentially intermingling, and it's wrapping around each other. And you give me a little, I give you a little, and then boom, we're both off to the races, boost both sides of it. And I felt it. I said they feel like a conduit of almost like an
Yeah,
antenna. And
yeah.
I
So
could
I'm
feel it
laughing.
from here.
I'm laughing because now, instead of taking out my crystals when I'm doing stuff, I'm like, okay, we got my spoons. We got these very powerful manifestations of a movement. And and I've met some interesting people, but my job this year is to remember who I am and to pull all the pieces and the memories back so that I can do my work without fear, so that I can lead without worrying that I'm going to get murdered or burned at the stake again, or, to sort of be free to do what I'm here to do. And it has been an exciting year because of that. But what I've also learned, so the other day, I was doing a healing on a little old Cherokee lady, a healer, a fortune teller healer, and she and her partner had been guides of mine for many years. I met them years ago. And I went over because one of them had had a stroke, and I went to do healing. So, of course, I brought my spoons. And she couldn't see. And so I put the spoon, one on each eye, like this. And I could feel the energy going through her, and I could feel her sight was being restored. And so was the energy in her body. I was opening up all these channels, doing some of my chiropractic energy and this energy. And suddenly, just when I knew she was going to get better, something gripped my heart, and I collapsed to the floor, and I thought I was going to die.
Oh my God.
For 15 minutes, there was some kind of spirit, Rob, that was trying to take my life. Angry, because I guess I had deprived it of her life. And I could see that they thought, well, she's got better energy anyway. I'll take hers. And I've never had this happen to me, Rob. I struggled for 15 minutes. I actually was on my hands and knees crawling and thought it was my last moment on the planet.
My God.
And
That's like a hitchhiker. She had a hitchhiker. She had one of those hitchhiker entities that was attached. And that could probably be the reason why some of the things around her were happening in such a way that, you know, that's a wild ride right there. You got to be careful with that. And I would be hesitant not to go back, but to make sure that you're absolutely guarded 110%. And because and the spoons might have been that thing that protects you. You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you why real quick, because we were always taught during during the esoteric religions to put our hands together to create uh the link of the circuit. You're completing the circuit by doing that. Now when the spoons are out, it's doing like a rotation back into you. And maybe that was one of the reasons why it wasn't able to grab hold of you the way it was, because of the spoons as well. It's sort of like amplified your energy back into you as opposed to allowing it out of you when the time arose.
well, I had dropped the spoons on my friend, and I don't know what happened with the spoons, because I was in a struggle. My heart was in such pain. And what it taught me was a lot of things that it taught me. Number one, I've been doing healings for people for years, and I've never been attacked like that, ever. I was so shocked. And I was shocked that an entity could actually take someone's life. It was like I knew that it could take my life if we didn't. We reached out for shamanic intervention and a tincture that brought me back. But I realized that we really need to be protected these days as we go out in the world energetically, in all ways. I think what I've become aware of is that I was a chiropractor for years, and so I'm always involved in how do I teach people how to heal themselves. Forget, you're in an emergency, like you think you're going to die on the porch of her house. And I was so upset because I didn't have anything in my purse that could have helped me.
Mm.
And so I realized, so I went out this morning and I was like, well, what could help you in that kind of situation? If you think you're having a heart attack, and there are things, you could take red cayenne pepper, or you could chew baby aspirin. Two things that could help you in an emergency. And I'm leaving off to go to Europe next month. So today I went out and bought the baby aspirin. And just because I know that I want to make sure that I'm never in a situation that I cannot help myself or someone else.
Absolutely. And Europe too, that's like the old guard of spirits. Like that's the old guard that have been around for a long time. And there's probably some darkness over there that we haven't tangled with in the new world over here just yet. But also, this is the battles that we face moving forward, because they probably saw an opportunity. Like, if this was a game of chess, let's take the queen off the board. You get what
Yes.
I mean?
And I think because I've been so visible these days, I was much more of a target. And, the dark knows the life plan of all of us. If you're working for the light, if you're out there and you're a light worker, your soul contract is known to the light worker teams, but it's also known to the dark. And they send their best, biggest, best, scariest, meanest energies to take you out. They've been doing this to many of us since childhood because they don't want us to succeed, because of how powerful, how powerfully we can help awaken humanity by this wake up. And
I'm saying prayers for you right now. I'm just trying to send you that energy to make sure that that doesn't happen again, because that's got to be so scary. It's got to be so scary. And I've not that I've had encounters in that way, but I've been outside with my wife, and around the corner came a darkness that I was like, okay, it's time to battle, and it ran for the hills immediately, because as soon as it came around the corner, I saw it and I looked right at it. And I told her about it, my wife, and she was like, I didn't see anything at that point, but I told her, you don't have to worry about it. We're safe. She's my twin flame too, so we give off an auric vibration that if anything dark tries to come in between, that it just bounces off. You know what I mean? But
mm-hmm.
unexpectedly, it could be something crazy. A lot of the times I don't talk about these things unless we're in conversation like this, and people are probably out there in the audience like, how come he doesn't talk about that stuff? Like, I really don't. But the interactions that we've seen, I mean, even at work, I've seen things that have just caught my eye that were like, all right, I see you, and that's enough. That's enough. That when you start to recognize it, then they see that you recognize it, and they tend not to do what they thought they were going to do in those moments, right? It's crazy.
You can hope. You can hope. So all of this is newfound wisdom for me, and part of my journeys now are recovering my memories as a goddess, as the goddess Hathor. I think maybe the last time I saw you, I did a talk on Hathor, or I did it for Omar because I had just woken up to being Hathor.
It was right after we did our last episode that you had a conversation with Omar about that.
Yeah, yeah. So remembering who you are, guys, is really important. And you guys are far more powerful than you even know about. And also, so one of the things after that with Hathor is I learned how to activate so many of those statues, those huge statues in Egypt, the ancient ones, many of those are really more like beings, I think, in suspended animation. And as humanity, some of us wake up, we are actually waking up and re-embodying some of these gods. Now, that's a complicated thing to say, but I found myself in the god Ra one day. And it was like the door closed around my belly, and I heard an engine roaring, and the energy was running up and down, up and down. And this is how you reclaim your memories. What can I say?
There's a statue in Egypt too, and I'm sure you're going to come in contact with it, that people try and take pictures of, and they can't get a clear picture of it because of the first, it's the chamber, but the resonant frequency of that specific statue essentially reverberates in a way that the camera seems like it's been shaking when they try and take a picture of it. I forget what it is. I'll find it out and I'll let you know. So if you guys get a chance over there while you're in Egypt to try and take a picture of it, but at least to be in contact with it. And people say when you get into some of these ancient sites and you step into these rooms with these statues, you feel their eyes on you, and there is this
Yes.
pulsation of energy that just it's overwhelming at times. People cry, people get emotional, people get super excited, or they get very hyperactive, and that's the embodiment of those entities energies being laid into those specific statues. That's why they used to build those statues, was to channel that energy and to give reverence to those ancient ancestors of their own that they knew of, or that these deities, and they would give them energy in the sense of sacrifice and the sense of offerings as well. So there's a whole underlayer of energetic like ley lines that reside within those ancient sites that are like all to their own, which is crazy.
Off world. But, I think that one of the things is that as we connect with them, they are like, I think that they're in suspended animation. I think what you're describing is there's a hum going through them. The Egyptian magicians, the whole purpose of Egyptian magic was because the magicians wanted to bring the gods in and talk to them and awaken the gods. Like, okay, Horus, let's have dinner together tonight. Really, they wanted to awaken the gods and talk to them. And so all the magic is all about finding yourself inside the god, or align with the bird that the god, that represents the god. Do whatever you can to align yourself with God. And so I did. Here I am aligning myself with the God. And I do this ritual all the time on my shows, where we send our roots into the earth and our antenna into the heavens. So I'm doing this. And the next thing I realize is, oh, wait, my roots just went through his feet. And then it was like, oh my God, my antenna is going up through his headdress. And then the doors started to close and I'm hearing this humming. And I realized that I'm waking up this being. And I looked down and all I could see were grasshoppers by his feet. Like, that's how high up I was.
Wow.
And I feel that the giants and these beings are waking up now. And I think it's a good thing. And many people who feel like they're embodying the goddess or embodying the god, and we'll talk about it, well, I'm carrying these energies. You are, and you may be embodying Horus himself, or Ra, or Zeus, and you are part of waking them up, and also learning how to use those energies yourself.
That's a concept I have not delved into just yet, but I would definitely love for you to show me how to sort of figure this energy out and find it. There have been a lot of different energies that have been swirling around my consciousness lately that are not unfamiliar. They're familiar, but almost to the point where they're almost telling me I'm not ready to understand yet.
Well, that's because you want your technical brain to understand, but you're also an intuitive.
Yeah,
and I think
people
that
tell me that.
No, you are an intuitive. Everything we've talked about in the show has been your intuitive side today, I think. Okay. I don't know what your audience says, but I think it's been on more your intuitive, and you are an intuitive. And I'm going to send you the name of the book when I get back to the house where the book is, because I think you'll resonate. I feel like I knew you in Egypt. I feel like you were a very advanced magical magician there. And magic was very exalted there. The Pharaoh lived his life every day according to ceremony and ritual. And every ritual was so that he could hear the instruction from their gods, from those who they obeyed. And so they did all these rituals to prepare and to set their mind. I kind of think you knew exactly how to do that too.
I feel like I do it now. I do it now with certain things that aren't like, so let's say magical, like creating a sandwich. I do it the same way every time. Like it becomes a ritual, right? Like my mind thinks that way. Like I have to do things the same way. And I'm very like spontaneous thinking, but I'm very mundane and routine with my actions, if that makes any sense. It's a wild class, but I do resonate with the Egyptian magic. I do resonate with that, and I do feel like that we definitely knew each other in many different lifetimes back and forth, whether it was future lifetimes too or the past. I know we did, because the way that our energies are interacting, they even when I first met you, it was like old friends, which was wild. It was wild for me because I don't get that with everybody, but with you, I did.
I remember sitting outside in a parking lot and doing a show with you guys one day on my cell phone. It was so interesting and really fun. But yes, I think that the reason we get along so well and we like talking about history and stuff is happens to be because we've lived some of them together in
I
those
agree.
ways, and had to work through that. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to tell you.
Wild. Wild. That's wild. And I love that we spoke about the spoons too, that there's something there that I don't even think we've thought about yet. There's some sort of something going on with the spoons that we don't even understand fully yet. And it's going to take time for us to understand them. But that, telling me that these entities, that this entity came for you in that way, it shows that we're over the target because when these things happen, they're not doing this just to do it. There's a purpose to it. And I think it's because of your ability to connect with people in a way that you truly do awaken something inside of them, that even if they don't recognize it right away, down the road it becomes something that you go, oh, like a light bulb moment. Or the way that again your energy spirals into theirs, it activates creates this awareness of this ancient DNA that sort of starts to make its way to the surface. But it's got to push through a lot of the BS to get there. But that's what happens. And I know it happens because it happens all the time. And that's why when I see you, I smile all the time because first, well, I just love you to death and we're friends and we have fun and we talk. But there's something happening to my energy and I feel it happening every time. And yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
true. It's true, and I'm claiming it now. It used to really disturb me. It disturbed me because, as I say, I took ugly pills growing up. I didn't want to be seen because being seen was dangerous. If I was seen, then the king would kill me, throw me off the pyramid because the only one who could talk to the gods were the king himself. So I've had many lifetimes of trying not to connect, of going into hiding and denying my gifts. But what I've come to, especially this last year, is, and I know even as Hathor, I'm here to really be radiant, be that light for the planet. And I know you're giving me that feedback that when I actually am in that state, it does help many people. I can go into a room and I guess, I used to think I could be invisible and no one would notice me, but that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And that's because I carry this resonance. And so now I'm saying yes to it rather than, debating it or, you know, dissing it. It's like, okay, if I'm here to truly do that, I'm going to do that the best I can. I will radiate the highest. I will help bring this light to the planet because that's my assignment.
Now, knowing that that's your assignment, emotionally, what has that done for you to sort of spread your wings a little bit more, right? I mean, how has it felt you emotionally when you start to embrace these things as opposed to sort of being standoffish about them? Do you feel like it's unlocked so much more for you, or are you just kind of steady on this path?
Well, I'm steady on the path, but no, not always. It took me, when I say it took 7 years for me to come out and raise my hand in an audience and have people feel the presence of the divine, that took 7 years. It took 7 years for me to believe I carried this energy or that which I thought I could do, I can do. And it took 7 years to have the courage to fight my own instinct of wanting to go back and hide and feeling safe. So, and by the way, my background growing up was perfect. I was terrified of coming out of closets, perfect for the kind of life I'm supposed to lead. Like build, we all get those challenges that are perfect for us. But, so I am doing this, I'm doing it in a way that I'm working with different people around the planet that are helping me to see who I am, even in a bigger way. When I go to Egypt, and I'm taking 2 different tours to Egypt, we're going the same tour twice. We're going to be floating down the Nile. I've had visions of myself on the Nile. I remember I get flashbacks occasionally, and I think that it's going to remind me even more of why I'm here, which is to raise the light and to do exactly. I was told years ago when I was ordained as a minister that all I need to do is walk in a room and I'm doing my ministry. And I thought they were nuts. Okay, just, I thought they were nuts, but based on even what I'm finding out, that is part of my role.
That's your subconscious telling you that maybe, that was your subconscious butting up against that saying, well, maybe not, but
Right.
you knew it in your heart of hearts that you are. And when you're in Egypt on that Nile, do one time while being present. And then the second time, you need to record every moment that you possibly can without taking yourself out of the moment. Because when you go back and you review that footage, I promise you upon promises, and I'm going to guarantee this, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm not seeing anything. You're going to see things that you didn't even realize in the sense of you and your surroundings. And I guarantee it. I feel it in my heart of hearts that you need to do that.
You're talking about taking pictures, videoing.
Well, video pictures, all of it. You need what, but like I said, not with taking yourself out of the moment while being in the moment in the sense like as much as you can without actually being it like without it being too much for
Mm-hmm.
you. But I feel like there's going to be a lot there for you to experience again or relive that moment, and then you'll have such a clear vision of it. It's going to be so wild. I know it.
Well, as Hathor, I may see my former husbands right there. You know, look at Ra
Exactly.
and Hathor. I could see everyone, which would be kind of funny. But I think you're right. And 2 nights ago, I finally started a blog on Substack. And I started it because I realized, oh, I'm going to have to put my impressions down because I'm being freed and I'm going to be traveling. And I actually need to record it. So I started by recording that incident the other day, by the way. And I'm just going to be hopping on Substack every few days. And I put it all on my Telegram channel, which is at Joan of Angels, all the things that are on my mind, all the different posts that are on my mind.
Your Telegram channel is in the chat, and it's also it's in the description. If it's not there already, I will put it in there for sure because I have it. But I have to start doing that more myself as well. That's really great advice because I have the Substack and I don't use it to write. And the things that I've written about have been something that's like on my mind, and a lot of what I do here is I'm talking about things that I love to talk about, but I'm not talking about like those moments throughout the day where I question something or I think of something. I need to start doing that more, whether it's a post here on YouTube or I do it on Substack. But I think we all need to do that to see where what's going on with ourselves and go back and review those things. It's to keep our thoughts in the present or in the moment and see if that's changed
Yeah.
or our perception of that moment has changed later on.
I didn't want to come back to the States in a year and not having cataloged or really seen the journey that I took and the souls that I touched and the learning and the energies that I'm tapping into. I believe that this journey that I'm taking it also with Neil and with Alan and with other members of Portal to Ascension. I believe that we're really anchoring in these mystery schools from days of old and re-establishing them in a way that by coming together, we can thrive again. And that's the most important. We're living in a time where humanity, who knows what's going to happen with humanity, honestly. We're not going to talk about that, but really being in charge of who you are, what you eat, what you think, who you hang out with, where you go is more important than ever now. All of us are going to be forced to make a decision about where we stand on everything, even on the food you eat or where you live or the friends you keep or, which bathroom you use. It's going to get down to the fact that everything, at least here in the US, is going to be based on you learning how to make wise choices and understand that just because other people tell you these are good, healthy choices, they may not be.
Right. Very true. Very true. I think we need to go buy that island somewhere and build the
Well,
commune.
I
I
want to
really
show
think we
you
need to
something.
build the commune. Go ahead.
I want to show you something. This came across my desk today, and that was what's behind my mind. So I want everyone to kind of look at it for just 2 minutes. So you'll see what I'm talking about. May I do that?
Yeah, sure.
It's not funny, though.
It doesn't have to be
Um,
funny. We talk about serious things too.
I know, I know, I know. Well, now, oh yeah, unbelievable old ads. Okay. So, we talk about people always think that the government, the whole world is here for our health, our happiness. So this comes from like the 50s and 60s. Look at this. People were actually told they could eat Vaseline.
Oh my God.
All
That's
right.
crazy.
Or look at this. Guess what they were using back then? Now, I know that the government and the food companies and the pharmaceutical companies knew what was safe and not safe back then.
Does that say
Arsenic,
arsenic?
arsenic on your,
Oh my God.
okay? So, you go and buy these things because you think it's approved. Now, this one I thought was pretty interesting. This was a gun now for $84. So it wasn't, as I don't know what to say of that one, but it's in here. But look at what they said about butter.
Well, it's
Butter,
good. And it's good for you.
and the more you eat it, the more it'll lubricate your arteries and your veins.
Yeah, in a bad way. This is wild. And you know what's crazy too
Right.
is they do this for as long as they can until the gig is up. And then it's like, "Oh, well, we did know that, but now we're going to
Right.
put out the real information."
And then you think that they took care of it because they give you something different. So this is pregnant mothers and smoking cigarettes. Or this one I don't know much about, but we go down here, the Hoover. This is very sexist against women. Look at this. Women were wearing this to prevent a double chin. I think
Oh
it
my
looks like a
God.
torture chamber.
It does.
Okay, just so you know that. But look at this one. No flies on me thanks to DDT.
What's DDT?
DDT is the most poisonous chemical in the world. It's in a lot of the insecticides.
Oh
It's been
my God.
banned in many countries, not in the US. It's in Roundup. It is extremely toxic, neurotoxins, and very dangerous to the people. So they were promoting it in a very big way.
That's
So this
crazy.
is kind of some of what I was thinking about before I came on the show today. It's like, wow, what's in our cabinet now? And now, if you look in your cabinet, you will see that all the chemicals that are in your cleaning fluid are bad for you in a very bad way. They hurt your lungs. They replace your estrogen and testosterone with synthetics. They cause cancer. They cause asthma, and they cause Parkinson's. And that's in your chemicals, in your food. It's in your detergents. It's in your clothing. And that's why I'm saying we have to really start to think about this. It's in the air. Now the chemtrails are worse than ever.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen it, but the clouds are so thick, and they have new codes for clouds, new
They're
names.
like straight lines. They're literally straight lines. Like that's not a cloud. That's literally a trail of chemicals going
That's
across
right.
the sky.
And the doctors are noticing an increase in asthma now because of the chemtrails, which of course don't exist, people. There are no chemtrails up there.
No, we're conspiracy theorists. That's all. We're just conspiracy theorists. That's what it is.
Or
Come on.
the water in your town is safe to drink, guys, which we know it's not.
Yeah.
And even, and even in the clothes, the frequency of the clothes or the chemicals in your fabric also determines your state of being. And these are little simple tricks we could start to do to not just eat organic, but to get rid of things around us that are toxic because they're disconnecting you from source.
That's crazy too. And everything that we eat now has a preservative in it or a preserve that essentially makes it stay longer wherever it is on the shelf and your fridge. And that is usually the most insidious chemical in whatever you're eating. And
I don't tell
that's
you
why
what it is.
no, right. And that's why a lot of people in Europe, when they eat a fresher diet, even if it's meat, it's fresher. It's not that they've banned a lot of that stuff in Europe that we in America
Why?
are
Right.
so accustomed to. And
Why
people who
haven't they
go
banned it here? Why,
because it's
why don't they
money.
care enough about us? Why don't they care about the people? in a way that we get what we need to be healthy. You know, what was it last year? What, baby formulas. We didn't have enough baby formulas, but if you look at the baby formula itself, it's so toxic. I would tell you to start breastfeeding. It's insane to give your baby formula when you have a natural alternative. And what's happened is they've convinced us that anything natural isn't good for you.
It's got bugs in it or something like that. But they want us to eat the bugs too, which is crazy. You know, I knew a couple people who went to Europe for a summer, and they went to Europe, I asked them. I said, "Well, you know, how is the food? It was great, right?" And they were like, "Oh, it was amazing. Oh, and by the way, I lost 25 pounds." And I said, "Well, you must have been eating good salads, greens." Absolutely not. Pastas, all the stuff with all the carbohydrates, rice, everything. And I said, "So how is that? How is that possible?" And they looked it up. It's those specific chemicals that are creating this gut health in America that are just, it's making people obese. So they went there, they ate the more natural foods, and they literally lost weight eating
Mm,
more. It's
right.
crazy to think about that. If and that happens. They felt like they could taste the food more, and they came back home. They were like, "I'm sad that I can't eat the same foods I was eating for the last 2 months." It's
Right.
crazy.
Right. And and then people aren't even aware of it. But you know, you reminded me of some article I saw of how many fat people there are in America.
Yeah.
We have become one of the fattest nations in the world because of those preservatives that you're talking about, which are in everything. And nowadays, you know, they're finding new ways to put medications into the food. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if you know about
Oh yeah.
that, but they're planning to put it in the cattle, in the sheep, and in your cereal.
Yep. And you know what's funny too is they started to tell Americans that they needed to take probiotics for their gut health, right? And your body makes that probiotic naturally. It's the preservatives that are creating this sludge that's inside of you that can't be broken down, and those probiotics break it down. But if you didn't eat the crap that had the preservatives in it, you wouldn't have it in your body in the first place. You wouldn't need the probiotic, and your body wouldn't go through stresses that it wouldn't need to go through. Therefore, you would be more in tuned with the resonant frequency of yourself. Those types of that type of sludge is like, it's like your body's adversary of like black goo. It's not the black goo itself, but it's like coming in contact with that. It's essentially works the same way.
And that's what was around my heart, the black goo.
Wow.
Because I reached out to two shamans for help there, and there was black goo that they could barely get off of my heart and get from around my heart. And so that black goo, by the way, is a product of these chemicals. It's a product of pharmaceuticals, especially in the pharmaceuticals, the black goo. And you know, it's like an extension of the matrix in a certain way. It's very hard to get it out.
That's
And look
very
at this,
is.
when I get my gut healthy, I lost 50 pounds. Greg, oh, it's so good to see. So one other thing I'm noticing is some of my old friends are on here. I want to take a second and say hello. Like I see
Do
Stone,
it. Do
I see
it.
Greg, Sugar Bee, there's Nicole, the Andromedan. I know a lot of you I've seen before, and it's been so exciting to see you again,
Stones here too.
Stone. I see you. Don't eat anything that the labels start with insects. Listen, the insects, this is the biggest scam ever. If you watch the insects, they have so many parasites inside. And you know, there's a lot of work now about how the true causes of disease happen to be parasites.
It's very, very true. Very, very
And
true.
and working to get the parasites out of your body could actually relieve you of other things.
I've been looking a lot of stuff about sugars in the body too, the way that the body reacts to sugars and things like that. But you know, we can't really go too far into that rabbit hole because of YouTube censorship. But you know, we're right up on the hour too, Dr. Joan, and I want to give you a moment to address the audience. And this is what I do, of course, with everybody who comes through, is to tell the audience what you feel that you know they need to hear in this moment, and then we'll wrap it up.
That's a great question, Rob. I adore you. We're going to have to do this more. So, guys,
Absolutely.
You know, all of this started back in 2020, and we got a wake up call. And each of us responded in our own way, shape, or form, according to what we were told. And now it's years later, and we're still in a crazy place where the time of being naive is over. This is the time for us to remember why we're here, who we are, and to get real about where we're going and what we see. And one of the reasons I am so busy creating plans for the future with Portal to Ascension is that every time I set up a new conference or an online webinar, I go, okay, I know that we're going to be functioning in February 2024. I just set up an event that's making it real. It's in the calendar. So I'm busy creating a positive timeline, even though I'm telling you all these things that are difficult to deal with. Create your own positive timeline and start looking at every choice you make, what you eat, what you do, how you raise your frequency, who you're with, and where you want to go, because the planet is changing. And we know with the Ascension timelines that those who are really working to raise their vibration will really reach the kind of life we're looking for, and there will be a transformation here. I see a time where the food, the water, the air will be back in harmony with us. It's not going to be easy, but we can do this, and it is us together. But first, we had to know we're in a fabrication, that we're in a false reality that's not for our highest good, and start creating a new one. And I know all of you were born for this. We were born to come in together, to wake up and remember, and to survive as a species, and as evolved humans, advanced humans, as Arcturians on the planet, or Pleiadians. You know, we came here to do this work, and the exciting part is there's a lot of work for us to do. So this is your time, and celebrate every moment that you're beginning to get new insights about why you're here and what you're doing and your skills, and start to look at the things you do that are so you, and you do them so well, because that's what we need more of. So guys, I am Joan of Angels. You can find me at joanofangels.com. Find me on my YouTube channel or my Telegram. But just, you know, if you need, and I'm here to help support each and every one of you. Like Rob says, I help you believe you can do it. And I think, and that's surprising me. That's what I do to myself too. I actually believe I can do it. I can believe that I can start this movement and help raise people up. And now I'm doing it. And I love all of you. You know, that's all I can say. I'm happy to be part of this humanity, that we can all do this together.
That's right. We dictate the terms of the future. That's how it works, right? By studying the past, staying in the present, we become what we want in the future. And that's how it works. And Dr. Joan, you inspire us every day with the work that you do. It is admirable, and we love you to death. And you're always welcome here. You know that. I love you to death. You're a friend, a teacher, a mentor. I love you.
Can you love me to life, Rob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The words matter. Let's
They
love
do.
ourselves to life, and to, you know, and instead of saying, oh my God, that's killing me, let's go like, that's waking me up. That's like our words also, just like I'm saying, we're putting our thoughts out in the universe, that we have an amazing planet next year. I'm setting up events up until 2025. And if I have to do it till 2026, I will,
You're
to
doing
make
it the way
sure.
Neil does it. That's crazy. He sets them like 4 or 5 years in advance. I love that. I
Well,
can't
I'm
do
the
that
other
this
half of
big.
Neil's team. I am the director. What am I? I've just been promoted. Executive producer.
Oh, very
The
good.
executive producer. So I'm making sure these events come up and happen. So guys, we're going to be in San Diego. If you're really interested in knowing what's happening with Portal to Ascension, go on over there. You'll see all the events. Come to Egypt if you want. We're going to have a blast. But take care of yourself. That's what I want you to do. You have everything you need to stay healthy, wealthy, and happy.
Before you guys set off on your trek, I should probably have you, Alan, and Neil all come on and do like a round table, all of us together. We'll bring
All right.
Omar in too. We'll have a great time. We'd be like all old friends coming back together to the table, right? And again, Dr. Joan, just keep doing what you're doing. You're changing the hearts and minds and souls of everybody out there, and we love you. We love you to death. And this has been another amazing conversation. I just love talking with you. I really do. I'm always smiling. We're always having a lot of fun, and the energy's great. So, with all that being said, I want to thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to talk to you as always. Um, yeah, I can look forward to the next time when we do this. We have to make this a habit. That's what we have to do. Make this a habit so we can keep doing it.
We'll do these energetic, we'll call them energetic vibrational upgrades.
I love it. I love it. I'm ready for that. We can always do that. And I just wanted to say thank you again for all that you've done for me and finding my path too. And I appreciate you. All right, everybody. With that being said, I'm Rob Yox. That's Joan of Angels, and we'll see you all on the other side. Have a great night.